Little zerk cap to put on the end of that bearing and pump and pull, forget it.
I know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out some way to do it.
The first thing I knew that I knew tracks.
Who's Sister Bertie?
Well, I'm Sister Bertie, but
Bertie, that's it. I
by birth, not by marriage. Yeah, someplace. She's got white hair. She looks just like me with white hair. So everybody tells me.
She's my mother too.
There she is, sitting right there in her own couch.
That's why I said one of those bastards on a car.
No, you get in the
White hair baby there. White hair baby there.
You don't want that husband in grease. Because grease don't dissipate heat.
It was. I'm not.
They put on that there too.
Well, actually, yeah, we got
But I didn't tell her. You just let her see something about it, you know.
I don't want to hurt your brand new camera. That's no issue with me. That's what you think.
She said she had Dallas, you sit down. Not put outside. I offered you the softest.
Chair right there. Vic, just turn that chair around. My brother.
Kevin, then you're going to have to come over here to do the other side.
Yeah, this place is pretty full of people.
Oh, we could fit more.
If you got some young people, they can come down here and sit down and try to get the adults all seated and the young people can sit on the floor if they need to. He doesn't need to know. He's a 70.
He's a press.
This guy's a nation. You don't need to know.
That's all right.
Come on in. Hey, Barry, Yaska's here? Gary Muchmore?
Yep, they're in.
Okay, we can start.
Patricia's here. I got mine checked out.
I would like to welcome you to our home. And that is what we built this home for, is to have our friends and our relatives and our neighbors here. That we might in some way give them some hospitality and the love of the gospel. Before we start, we'd like to ask Brother Sankster if he'd give us an opening prayer. Since we moved back to Canada some 20 years ago this August. And in 1987, as you know, was the centennial year of Carson. Our town was 100 years old at the time that Charles Beauregard and his group came to settle this great land. And I was involved in the temple pageant as Chief Yellowface and some other persons. And so I was also privileged that summer to be the on-camera narrator for a documentary, which is dedicated to the founding fathers of our land. This film is 14 minutes long and it's called Behold, There Is a Place. And I hope that you enjoy it. Where's our control?
Well, it was over there.
Yeah, that's it. Punch on. And I didn't take advantage of it. But why I said that is because I was the sixth boy in the family, and when they saw me, they decided to quit, of course. And 6 years later, another boy came on the scene, and so they thought, well, rather than, we kind of got two families here, rather than have a spoiled kid, we'll have another one to go with him. And the angel, my sister, was born at that time. And she is to this day just that. But anyway, my life, as we lived on that farm, we worked after school and we worked on Saturdays. I can remember working one Sunday in that home, and that was, there was a little sliver of grain, and my dad went with a binder and cut it, and us boys shocked it, or stooped it as we call it. And so I always wanted to climb Chief Mountain. And so the Aaronic priesthood would go for 3 days, the scouts would go for 2 or 3 days, but we never went because we were working. So when this came up, at age 59, I stood on the top of that great mountain. And not only did I stand on top of it, but you see the picture that's on the wall right at the top on the north corner, the airplane. You notice in the front of the film the black fellow in the black suit up there. Well, that was me. And right next to me was a survey pin. It says U.S. Survey 1911 or something, 9,487 feet. And I could have reached over and tapped that ridge, part of Cut Bank, Coots, all around. And as we stood there, you could see Frank Slide, and you could see the different towns around that evening as we were in bed. And so, anyway, between that and the pageant, there was almost a divorce in this house.
There's going to be another one too if we don't get on stuff besides that.
And so anyway, to finish it up, when the documentary was shown, what I was thankful for, I announced the parade that day for Heritage Days. That's the last time I announced rodeos. I finished up that year. And my mother was sitting on a chair alongside my pickup. And she went and seen the very first showing of this in the green room in the Civic Center. Anyway, I think we will have Lost Sheep on the Mountain as our next number. So if the Ericksons would come forth and do that for us.
Just giving Steve's luck now.
Someone here asked me if I would say something about the native people. The native people, to me, since I was a boy, as we lived 6 miles, we are sitting 6 miles from the Montana border right here. If you're not aware of it, as the crow flies for 6 miles, or one township wide. But anyway, when Charles Oricard came to this country, the chief of the blood tribe that we are working as missionaries among had a chief by the name of Red Crow. And Red Crow and Charles Oricard were fast friends. And the statement was made by Chief Red Crow. He says, as long as Chief Mountain looks over the plains, the Mormons and the Blood Indians will be friends. And so as they came here, there has been some problems with things, but I won't go into that. But there is a lot of good people. This is the largest reservation in Canada, right here north of Carson. Now, I don't know how many 1,000 acres they have, but they have a population of 7,700 people. And so it's quite a thing to work with the native people, because when they are converted to the gospel of Jesus Christ and can get over the stumbling blocks that they have, which is alcohol and drugs and things like this nature, when they get past that, and these people, the Spirit, when they bear their testimonies, you can feel it. You know how you feel it in our meetings? Because these people confess. They'll tell you that they used to be an alcoholic. They'll tell you that they used to do this. They're not bragging about it. they're saying it in shame. But they have climbed above it, and now, as it says in the Book of Mormon, in the last days the Lamanites will blossom as lords, and they will become a delightsome people. And in the year and a half that Enola and I have been in the branch, we have seen this happening with other Lamanite people or natives. They don't like to be called Indians. They like to be called natives. They don't like to be, some of them don't like to be called Lamanites. Because they don't understand the Book of Mormon. It doesn't register with it. So if you're talking to a native person, they like to be called natives. And so actually I can say I'm a native because I was born in Carson, so I'm a native. And this is what it is with any of them. You that were born in Stevensville or Missoula or whatever you're natives. But anyway, it is a great challenge to work with these people, and as Enola says, teaching them patience. Now, when we get done with the program here, I had the privilege also of playing Chief Yellowface, who was a Cree chief. And when I portray this, you will hear the story. It's a true legend. It isn't. Most legends are just a legend, but this is a true legend. It happened right here. And the Book of Mormon that was presented to Chief Yellowface was at Mountain View, which is about 18 miles west of Erickson, by Bishop Harper and another elder of the church. And so, and when we put on the pageant, one of our doctors here that is an honorary chief, Dr. Van Orman, he went to Rocky Mountain House and interviewed an old gentleman that was a Cree. He was 103 years old. And they tried to get him to come down, but no, he had to tuck his wife into bed at night. He couldn't come. But he got all this information, and he told Brother Van Orman, he said, I was 20 years old when my cousin received that book. He says, I don't know where it is now. And he said, he got the book. And so you'll hear this part at the end. So anyway, I guess I'm expected to entertain you a little here tonight. And so, a few kids here. We'll do a few animal sounds first. Is that okay? You've probably seen out in the yard, we had some... And when you drive down the road to Johnson's the other day, they were moving their cattle, and it sounded like this. Ha! Get him up there! Yeah! Ah! Ha! Get him over there! Yeah! Ah! Ha! Get him out of here! Yeah! Ah! Ha! Get him there! Bite him! That's the cattle sound. Business. I don't know whether any of you are, but you need a little dog. You always need a little dog to move pigs. And this is what it sounds when you're moving sows to other pens. Well, I usually sing, but I've kind of got a frog in my throat tonight, so I don't know whether I'll be able to do it. And I'm a little hoarse. But anyway, I sing at a lot of funerals so that people know there's something worse than death. I'll do a little Al Jolson, and because, how many of you here are Americans? I'll just fit one of them in. I'm going to do Al Jolson. I'm managing a critic, but I'm running the show tonight because she hasn't been on it yet, see? And then I'm going to sing There's Only One Kate Smith Left. That's me. And I'm going to sing for you good people, God Bless America. And Kate Smith. Anyway, though April shower may come your way, they bring a flower that bloom in May. So if it's a raining, have no regret, because it isn't raining rain, you know. It's a raining violet. And when you see clouds upon the hill, you're soon gonna see clouds of a daffodil. So just keep on looking for that bluebird and listening for his song. Whenever April showers come along. I have to get my composure for this next one because, as you realize, that Kate Smith was a cousin to Dolly Parton. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairie, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, our home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home. Everybody thinks I'm from down in that Missoula area, or in Stevensville, or up here in Canada, but I really are from Macomb, Mississippi. Now, when I lived down there, we had a neighbor by the name of Claude Ledbetter. Now, he was catching fish when nobody else was so much as getting a bite. And so the Fish and Game Commission of Mississippi come over there and he said, Claude, how come you catching fish when nobody else even getting a bite? You bringing them in here by the pickup load. Oh, they just don't pop and know how to fish. Well, he said, if you were so good at it, he said, why don't you take me out and show you? Get in the boat. So they get out in the middle of the river. And old Claude reaches under the boat seat, pulls out a big stick of dynamite, and he lights it. And it's getting down there kind of short, and he chucks it out there, boom! And the catfish come belly up. He's just dragging them in by the tubful. The game warden said, Claude, I'm taking you in. That's against the law. You can't fish like this. Old Claude reaches under the boat seat, takes another stick of dynamite, and he lights it, and it's going, sss. He shoves it in the game warden's hand. He said, you fool, you can't fish like this. He says, you going to sit there and argue, or you going to fish? Oh, I'm on my own.
Still do Digger Odell?
Well, at one time when I was 16 years old, if you notice the big school down here, we had drama every Friday. And there was a time when I was a good impersonator. And at that time, between when they was moving the scenery around between acts in the plays, I stepped in front of the curtain and entertained the audience while they made the changes in the sets. And at that time, I could impersonate 63 different animals, birds, and people. And so kind of some of the others were Rochester, Amos and Andy. And of course, you all liked this time that's just went by, you know, income tax time, right? Everybody likes income tax time. So Amos and Andy, this is, some of you olders will remember, they were two colored fellows on TV. But anyway, old Andy was down in the hospital, and Amos went to visit him, and this is how the conversation went. Say to Andy, what's this here you done called me down to this hospital for? Well, I'll tell you, Amos, this old doctor done told me I was going to kick my bucket and I wants to talk to you. Well, I understand that, Andy, but what you want to talk to me about? Well, I'll tell you, Amos, when I done kicked my bucket, I want you to take my body to one of them crematoriums or whatever they call them, and have my body cremated. Well, I understand that part of it, Andy, but what you want me to do with the ashes? Well, I'll tell you, Amos, you just take them ashes and put them in one of them big brown manila envelopes and address it to the Receiver General of National Revenue, and they'll have everything. Back in those days with Mr. Benny.
Hey, cash the check.
Oh, I'll get that check. At Rochester, he's calling Mr. Benny. Hello there, Mr. Benny. This is Rochester. Yeah, you better get down here right away. You know that two-seater bicycle I was riding? I lost in the poker game. I got a policeman on each arm. Yeah, Mr. Benny. You get around here right away. Rousey. Anyway, in the United States 30 years ago, we were helping, as we are now with the Native people, to educate them and that they might work in the workplace like you and I. And so, as you realize that some people had never had a job before, so this young man was 18 years old and he had never had a job. And so he got his first check and he went down to the bank and he throwed it in the teller window.
Young black man, please.
Yes, he was a young black man. I'm telling about the black man.
No, you're not.
And he says, I want my money. And so the teller looked at his check and he says, yeah. He said, you just sign it here on the back and I'll give you money. No, he says, I ain't signing it on the back. He says, the back of the bus, the back of the shirt, the back of the subway, now the back of the check, I either sign it on the front like a white man, I ain't signing it. And he said, well, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. So he takes his check and he goes across to the other bank. And so he goes and he's same process. He said, I want my money. And so the teller looked at him. He said, yeah, I just signed it here. He said, I ain't signing on the back. The back of the bus, the back of the church, the back of the subway, now the back of the check. He just signs on the front like a white man, he ain't signing it. And this fellow's from Tennessee, so he reached out and grabbed him by the shirt collar and rattled his head on the teller window. And he said, sign that check. Okay, okay. So he signed it and he counted out his money. And the boy was proud. He'd never had money before, so he was walking down the street counting his money. The other teller seen him. He come out and he says, how'd you get your money? Oh, he said, I just signed it on the back. Well, he says, I told you if you signed it on the back, I'd give you money. Yeah, but he says, you didn't explain it to me. Well, anyway, it's great to have you here. And I don't want to keep you too long because you want to get bedded down and everything. I hope you've enjoyed it. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can find Chief Yellowface. This good lady is my wife for 43 years. I'd like her to stand and bear testimony to you at this time and tell her a little about her life. She was raised just 5 miles. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, we really did plan on having some Lamanite people here tonight, but I think you all realize what we've been going through here. And we're having Lamanites in the temple every night. We want them to be really out there where people can. They're hosting every night, and there's not just one or two that takes 3 or 4 of our couples. And there's no way that we could conveniently plan a program. So we've just kind of had to fly on our own. And I do wish that we'd have had time last night when we had several from down there, and we would have liked to have been able to take them down to see the Indian rings and things. But Jenny Lynn's daughter was here earlier, and we did make quite a tour, and we took Brother and Sister Mullen down there Monday night. But we have one of the largest sightings of Indian teepee rings there are in Alberta. And we've been asked by the geologists in the area not to touch it. We don't dig there or anything. We don't move the rocks. And we've counted 72 teepee rings in just one area. And if people know anything about them, they can tell you where the door is and everything. And I've been surprised because there are none on the reserve. They must have, they're either from hunting parties or things like that. And we do have a small buffalo jump down here. I was raised just 7 miles from here. And we used to find arrowheads and everything. And I remember my dad was plowing one day, and as he'd keep going by this particular spot, he'd see this thing shining. Finally the curiosity got too much for him, so he stopped and got off, and he found a tomahawk. And we still have it in our family. It's at my brother's house right now. And it's not what you call a really old one because it is manufactured. It is made by the French people, and it has the French fleur de lis impounded in the sides of it. But it's a definite piece pipe and tomahawk. And we find buffalo scalp like last year. After the waters go and we have high water, and it washes the banks. And I think my brother got 7 parts of buffalo skulls last year. And if you notice the buffalo in the documentary, this is him. This is my pride and joy. This is one of the best Indian heads you'll find because it's complete. But most of you find they'll be cut off right about here. The nose and that's fragile. And this has been used a lot in this area in different things that we've done. And he is in the, so I said we'll have him for forever for sure on the documentary. But the Indian people are fascinating to work with. They'll set you up for a meeting at 8:30 in the morning, and they might be there by 10. And I know that's why we've been called to work with the Indian people, because I need to be taught patience and tolerance and all that. But I think it surprises them because I am related to so many Native people. My dad's brother married my mother's sister, and they have 9 children. And they have all married Indian or Native people. They live in the Browning area. So I'm related to all the Indians of Browning. And it really surprises them. And when I went through the temple, when I was a young married woman, I don't know, we've been married 7 or 8 years when I went through the temple. And they were really excited because they thought they had a Lamanite sister coming through. That's how dark I used to get. And I felt bad that I had to tell them I wasn't really. And now I'm becoming a white and delightsome race. I don't get nearly so dark anymore. But he wanted me to bear my testimony. And when I bear my testimony, I usually get weepy and all that sort of stuff. And I feel bad for you that have to sit there and watch me cry. But I wasn't a member of the church, and when I joined the church, I joined for all the wrong reasons. Not because I knew anything good about the church. I knew all about old Joel Smith and all of his wives, and I knew everything bad you could know about the Mormon church, because I lived in a community of Mormons, and the few that weren't Mormons, it had nothing good much to say about the Mormon people. But my dad was from a very religious family, and when I married Dean and decided to join the church, the only thing he said when I told him I was going to join the church was that you join it, you live it. And even though we never had a blessing on the food at home, that was not something that was done. And yet, when we'd all get together, my dad was my strongest supporter. That to be the first thing he'd say to my children is, "All right, kids, whose turn for the blessing?" You know, and he really supported me in that way. And even after they grew up and got older, and we were close to him here, he was one of my strongest supporters. And there's nothing that made my dad give me that dirty. He used to have kind of a dirty look when I had guys come to visit me. He didn't really like, you know. And if I said a swear word or something around my father, that dirty look come upon his face right to the day he died. And so that he really did support me in that. And he has one sister, and she is LDS. And so she's been one of my strongest supports. And when I joined the church, like I said, I joined because of Dean. I knew it was important to him. And so that was his birthday present, the year we got married. I joined the church, and I was baptized in the temple. And that's what I was telling you today, that when I went into the temple, that pool was out front at that time. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And they used to have goldfish in it. And it would freeze, you see, in the winter, and it would freeze so deep it would kill them. So they quit doing that. And then, I don't know whether it cracked or what, but they did away with that and just filled it with flowers. And so I was so glad to go back and see that, because that sound of that water to me is really soothing and peaceful. And I said, if any of you are going back through cards, then try and get a copy of the insert that's out of the Chronicle for last week. And they're selling them in most of the stores. They're 60 cents. But there's a lot of good information in there that you'd really enjoy. And I don't know, when I first started out in the church, I used to go. When we first joined, we didn't really go to church that much. And then we'd been married, our third little boy was born, and just a beautiful boy. And all of a sudden, I knew from the minute I had him that I couldn't keep him, and he used to really upset me. And then when he passed away, Dean just said, "Hey, I know that we're supposed to change our lives," which we did. And we went to Pincher Creek, and I think there was 11 of us all told, of members, and they didn't scare me very much. But then I moved to the States. By the time I come to Missoula, I was a nervous wreck. I was so afraid they'd ask me to do something, you know. And then I moved to Missoula, and they were pretty good. They just kind of left me alone, you know. And I have to tell you though, I don't know why, unless they thought, well, she must really be. I took my kids to church on Easter Sunday. We all went, you know. And my oldest little boy was only about 5, I think. And I looked down, and here he sits in his blue jeans, his cowboy boots, smoking his corncob pipe, which his grandfather had given him. And he, you know, you'd always have it in his mouth. He's like, well, I about died of embarrassment. I smarted that kid up right away. And then I never become active, really active. I mean, I went, but I wasn't doing anything. And then we moved to the Bitter Ridge. And I don't think we were there. We just barely got our phone in. We got a phone call from Bishop Party. They were having a party, and they'd sure like us to come. By the time I left that night, I was the new high teacher. And we never looked back. At that time, I didn't even know what road show was, and I learned. And I think Bruce and Norma can tell you that we did a few fine things with those road shows and things. And we were in Stevensville quite a while, left Stevensville, went to Corvallis, and that's where I really got an education. I know how to do speech, I know how to do grammar, name it, they taught me. I was a beautiful president, and I had to do all those things. But I said of all the things that I've done in my life, that's so second right thing. First was marrying Dean, second was going in the church, and having my children raised in the church, and having the opportunity of all those blessings. And I think that there's nowhere else on the face of the earth that our children have better opportunity than right starting out in our program. And I always feel bad because I never had that myself, and I'm glad my children have. And working with the missionaries been, it's scary for me. I can get up, I can talk to you like this, it doesn't bother me a bit, I can meet any kind of people, but to go up to somebody and say, how much do you know about the Mormon church? I would scare me to death. I'd be afraid they'd say, well, not much, what can you tell me? Because I probably wouldn't know what to answer. And that has been hard, but I think Chief Yellowface should be about done. And I don't know, I just would not have wanted my life to be any different. And when I look down and see so many familiar, sweet faces, it's so good to have you. It really is. And as Dean says, anytime you want to come, send your kids, whatever. They're more than welcome to come. We might not always be here because I do work every day, but they're welcome. And we've just been so appreciative of the fact that you weren't afraid to call and ask to come. And those kids who came yesterday, you haven't all heard this story, but I didn't know who they were, and I didn't know where to find them, and they were supposed to call me, and they didn't, and I was getting frantic. And we had to work last night, and your son knew we were working, and he was going to look us up at the visitor center. Never come. Well, we got out of there, and so we had 3 different people say, did the people who are looking for you find you? No. And so finally once that lady said, well, one of the women had a black skirt and a flowered blouse. That's how much I knew. So I said to Dean, well, you go get in the car and you see if you can find the 13 license plates, and I'll go back to the temple. And I went back and I seen a group of ladies and a friend of mine standing inside the gate. And they were asking her, do you know Berezay? And the one lady had a black skirt and flowered blouse. So I said to the guy at the gate, I said, I'm going to go see if that's them. And sure enough it was. So we all got together, we came home, and we still didn't have Brother Bankston. Well, I was just sick. But he had talked to Mullins, they had told him how to get here, and he'd come ahead. Well, nobody calls him in. So he started out to tell me, we got to sit down here below the hill, and we didn't know it was him. But Dean said, I wonder if that would be him. And then we seen him turn around and follow us, and so we all got back here together last night. And we really, they were just bush. And they still had to eat, most of them, you know, but we had a really good time. And anyway, I know who the Pearson's daughter-in-law is, I know who Ann Robinson's daughter is, and I know who Iris Carroll's daughter-in-law is. And I know who your son is. And we did, we really had a good time. And I appreciate it that you would come. And any time, it's not fancy, but we are glad to have it. And I am thankful for the gospel in my life, and I'm thankful for a Heavenly Father who loves me and does answer prayers. And I'm thankful for having a family like I have. It's so nice to have Jenny Lynn and Dean both here with me today. And I never had Jenny Lynn often enough. It's one thing, the most special part in our whole life is when our family gets together and people say, why do you have this big house? Well, I have 10 children, they all have children, I've got 35 grandchildren, I've got 3 great-grandchildren. Why shouldn't I have a big house? I want them all to come at once. And when they do come, they come to roll, and they still like to come home, and I appreciate it. And I'd like to leave this scripture in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I am Chief Yellowface. I have been permitted to come from that place of many spirits to tell you my true legend. For many years, me and my people roamed these hills, hunting for food and water, also meeting the enemy. Many times I thought, where did I come from? What am I doing here? And where will I go when I die? For 3 years in a row, I took my family and went to the mountains. We would pitch our teepees, and I would go into the woods to meditate and pray. I was met there by a messenger. He said, you are going to die, but you will not die all over. Wrap yourself in your blankets and lay under the trees, and come with me. I did as he told me. He also told me to tell my family and my friends not to bury me, as long as there was a warm spot over my heart. I went with the messenger to the grandfathers in that spirit world, and they said, we have been looking for you to come. When you go back, you will hunt for a people that have a book that is a history of your people. You will come here 2 more times, but I will give you 4 signs that you will know this people. They will let you hunt and fish on their land. You can turn your horses loose, they will not steal them. They will come through your villages, they will not molest your Indian maidens or your women. And they will ask you to sit at their picnic table. For 3 years I searched this great land for such a people. I found this people. They were Mormons. I said to them, you have a book. Yes, we have a book. It is my book. They gave the book to me. I keep it close to my heart, so I won't lose it. When I hear it read by those that are educated in my tribe, it sounds like sweet music to my heart. I must now go back to that place of many spirits.
Family. I knew Dean and Enola a long time ago also, and it's been a privilege and an honor to be able to know this family. And we want to thank them, and let's give them a round of applause and appreciation for being here. The beautiful program and all of the things that these people have done for us. I'm on.
Thank you. I want to thank you all, Enola and I, for the privilege of being in our home this night, and we hope that we have portrayed a spirit to you of our life and how we feel. And we'd like to ask Bishop Joseph to give a closing prayer.
How about having Brother Douglas come forward and lead us in a love home?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And then we'll have a program.
Okay.
Bishop, we'd like their family to join us in prayer. Yeah.
I'm not trying all the way out
We'll make enough noise around here that you'll be out.
And while Brother Douglas is coming out, the thing that I was a little nervous, but this happened right up here by Mountain View, which is between Waters and Parkston. Bishop Parker and another elder of the church was
Page 1.
the old book or the new
Yeah,
book?
I got both.
The new book, it's $2.90.
And we know what class.
This is another one of my favorite brothers, along with all of you, but another one up there, I used to go preaching with Brother Ludlow, you know, and have to tell you a story of Polson. One time we went, and they had Sunday school and preaching in the morning, and then sacrament was in the afternoon, and the funny part of it was I had no money, and he had no money, but we did have a sack of peanuts, thanks to his, and no one asked us for dinner. So we sit up on the hill and watched Polson for an hour and a half while they was having a lull and eat the bag of peanuts. And we survived. You see that Brother Ludlow's doing fine, and I'm not losing anything either. And Brother Douglas, I got to tell one story on him. He used to work with me at Tolman's Meat, and he'd come sometimes like I do. If he lived in this country with these raggy shirt sleeves, he hasn't got them on tonight, they'd beat you to death. But he had a saying, and I've got a lot of mileage out of it. He says, I've got better clothes than these, but they're home in the mop.
Turn that light on right by you.
I can see.